So today we're going to start off with a little bit of summer league. Let's start off with the Bulls pick, Wendell Carter Jr. The other day against the Cavs, he dropped 16 points, 9 rebounds with 5 blocks, and they did beat the Cavs 86-81 in Wendell Carter's summer debut. What do you guys think he's going to do this year, pairing with Lauri Markkanen in Chicago this season?
Let me tell you what. Let me start off with this. Wendell Carter Jr. is a guy that we said could transfer over to the NBA very easily, smooth transition from Duke. This is also a pick that we thought Chicago would be making if it wasn't Michael Porter Jr., which we know he fell all the way to the 14th pick in Denver. Wendell Carter Jr., a guy averaging 12.5 points, 8 rebounds, 1.5 steals, almost 5 blocks a game, which is incredible. We knew that he was a big-time shot blocker when he played at Duke, also playing alongside Marvin Bagley III. As you said, pairing alongside Lauri Markkanen this season, both very similar, I think, other than the fact that I think Lauri is more of a stretch big, and I think Wendell Carter, although he can shoot the three-pointer, I think we should stick him in the corner more than have him shooting from the top of the key and have more of an inside presence, not just on the defensive end, but obviously on the offensive side of things, because the Bulls need all the help they can get at this point. But being in the Eastern Conference, I think the competition for him is going to be, I don't want to say a little softer, but let's be honest. I mean, the West is stacked at this point, especially at the center position. The East is lacking. With that said, I mean, pairing him up with Lauri, I think you're looking at the next dynamic duo of the Eastern Conference. I know that might be a bit of a stretch to say right now, but Markkanen is a guy that averaged 15, 1, 8, 1 and 1 last year with the Bulls, shooting 36% from 3, 42% in college when he was at Arizona. Brought it down about 6% overall, but that's expected to come up, and obviously the line moves back, so you got to get used to it, right? It's not the same shot. With that said, though, I mean, these guys, you pair them together. We know the Bulls re-signed Zach LaVine, and we'll talk about that later. They matched the offer from the Kings. I mean, you got that guy running pick and rolls with these two. I mean, it's looking like a dangerous combination.
And, I mean, I was going to say almost the exact same thing. We said he's a guy that can translate very well to the NBA. He is one of the most NBA-ready players. Good upside, but he's already where we want him to be at. And I think he's proven that so far in the small sample of games that we've got already. I think in college he put up 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and something like that every game. And he's pretty close so far in his NBA debut and the couple games after that. So he's showing us that he's got everything that he already had. So he's translating very well, which we had guessed upon, and I'm glad to see that he's showing it, especially in the block category. Not only is he maintaining what he was at in college, but he's overperforming.
Oh, much.
5 blocks a game is nuts.
Absolutely.
Even for a guy that's 7'2" like Shaq. He's not even that big. He's, 6'10", 6'11"?
Yeah, he's not even 7 feet yet.
Yeah, he's still a big guy, but he's not a 7'2" guy. He's not one of these monsters just walking around. He's getting almost 5 blocks a game.
We expect that to level out at some point, because he only averaged 2 in college, but 2 blocks in college is still 2 blocks in college, right? I mean, that's a great defender, but averaging almost 5. He's at 4.5 right now, and yes, it's only 2 games, but the fact that we can see what he's capable of and the potential that he has for this Chicago team and being the next great big man in the East, especially a stretch big. That's what the league is coming to, and the fact that he's able to shoot the 3. Granted, he's only shooting 40% right now, but he's only attempted 5 shots.
That's what he shot in college, was 40% from the 3.
Exactly. The very, very similar numbers. So if he can keep that up, especially the free throws as well. He's 7 of 10 right now. He shot 74% at Duke. It's a pretty good sample size, too, with 37 games. So if he can expect to do that throughout the season, this is a guy that can pretty much do it all besides handle the basketball. But the Bulls already have guys like Chris Dunn. They've got Zach LaVine that they just brought back. And, of course, they have Cameron Payne off the bench, who's supposed to be this building block that they got from OKC. And I really don't know how his situation is going to work out in Chicago, because he's kind of performed pretty terribly last year, if we're being blunt about it. But no, Wendell Carter, I can't wait to see what kind of player he's going to become. Playing similar minutes as he did in college right now, and the summer league, it's got an accumulation of college talent. So obviously, the competition level has risen, and he's answered the call.
Bobby Portis too. We can't forget about him. I feel like Bobby has earned more playing time than Wendell Carter. We'll see. The fact that too, is only being 6'10". Is he going to get in there and be able to stop guys like Al Horford or Valanciunas in Toronto? I don't think so. He's too small. I haven't seen enough of him. 2 games. I just feel like he's not big enough or physical enough to stop them guys.
He very well could be, but I think what he makes up in lack of size is his shot blocking ability. We see guys like.
But will he be able to block shots from guys like Miles Turner, Valanciunas, Al Horford, the guys that are bigger than him? Will he be able to block them?
Right. Will he be able to keep up with them? I believe so because of the vertical game that he has. For being 6'10", his vertical is great. His first step on defense is really where I think he'll perform better than a lot of people expect him to perform. And like I said, I was going to compare him to a guy like Hassan Whiteside, who's not a great one-on-one defender, but as far as the help side defense when coming over and blocking those shots when he's not one-on-one on the block facing up with the guy that has the ball, right? If like you said, Horford or Turner was posting him up, if he's on the help side defense, I think that's where his blocking ability comes into play. That's when it's the most effective.
Well, and I think what he lacks in size and strength and that experience against some of those bigger, more physical, more experienced guys, he makes up for an effort. If you watch that guy play, he's always going 100% all the time. That's how he got 5 blocks against the Cavs. That's how he got 4 blocks against the Lakers. Dude's just always out there balling out, trying to put on. And so what he lacks, he makes up for with effort, and like Gavin said, his vertical game. Dude can just get up. So it doesn't matter if you try and go over him, around him, he'll catch up to you eventually.
And like I said, this is another guy that's going to grow into a better defender than I think Markkanen will ever be. And that's no disrespect to him. Laurie is a more offensive-oriented player. Mm-hmm. And that's...
The dude can make it rain from the three-point line.
Absolutely. Like I said, 42% in college, 36% in the pros, and he played, I believe, 68 games last year with Chicago. So that's a pretty large sample size. He only missed 14 games when he had that injury, but that's when Chris Dunn started to show out. Justin Holiday started to come around. David Nwaba for the Bulls, they started getting more playing time, although we know that Hoiberg was trying to make that team tank, let's be honest. But he's still a great player. So if you have Laurie who can flourish on the offensive side of the ball and Carter Jr. who can flourish on the defensive side of the ball, you're looking at a team that is, you have your 2 building blocks on top of Zach LaVine, who's a high flyer, right? So I think from moving forward, you kind of just want this core to grow, and maybe because you're not going to be looking at the playoffs yet, you can probably get another piece in the upcoming draft, which is another great class, depending on where you fall in the standings. And that could be the final piece you need moving forward. And in the next 3 to 4 years, Chicago could be looking at a competitive team.
For sure. So let's shift gears. Let's get off Wendell Carter in Chicago. Let's go to DeAndre Ayton and the Suns. He's off to a hot start. The fact that he's dropping dimes out here, he's showing what he's made of and true potential. I cannot wait until the regular season comes around when we can see him go up against the actual bigs in the NBA, such as DeMarcus Cousins or anybody like that. What do you guys got on Ayton so far?
Well, DeAndre Ayton, this is pretty incredible. Not that we didn't expect this from him, going number 1 overall to Phoenix. He's averaging almost 16 points, 10 rebounds, half a steal, 1 block. He's already averaging a double-double. It's only 2 games, but we see what he did at Arizona, just not at the level because he's not getting as much playing time as he was when he was in Arizona. 34 minutes in college, 26 minutes in the average in the 2 games that he's played so far in the Summer League. He's shooting 70% from the floor in these 2 games. I understand, again, small sample size, nothing short of incredible. Is this something that he can keep up for an entire NBA season? We see guys like DeAndre Jordan do it before. We've seen guys like Shaq do it before. Now, I've been saying all along, now just hear me out, Cale, this is a guy who's Shaq-esque. Not as big, but he has the footwork and the potential to be a Shaq-like player. We know he's very athletic. We know anything inside 10 feet, he's excellent, excels anywhere within that vicinity. I don't know if he'll ever stretch out to the 3-point line. Maybe that's something he can work on years down the line, but we're not going to talk about that right now. The fact is that he's dominating the Summer League. We've seen him send shots into the crowd. We've seen him put a couple guys on posters already. He's catching lobs, and he's really just dominating the competition right now.
Well, I hope he doesn't have Shaq's footwork, or we're going to see him on the ground a lot.
And hopefully he can make free throws.
I'm going to Orlando days Shaq, the skinny Shaq.
We're rebirth Shaq than a fool.
We're not gonna talk about Shaq after the Laker days. We'll leave that for another time.
He was the number one pick for a reason, and you heard all the stats that Gavin spit off. Dude has just been playing phenomenally. 70%, whether it's 2 games or a whole season, that's impressive. Shooting 70%. He's just insane. He's shooting what 80% from the free throw line right now. 85.
It's pretty. It's well above his college average right now.
Right. He's just doing phenomenally in all areas of the. Now he's not as a premier defender as we would have expected. 1 steal, 1 block in one game, and a block in the other game. But he's still playing well on defense. He just doesn't have the stats to kind of back it up right now, like Wendell Carter Jr. did. But dude's all around having a good season so far, a good summer season, and I think he went number 1 for a reason, and he's showing it. So
absolutely. One question I want to ask though is, I know you disagreed with me on his field goal percentage if he's able to keep it up. I don't expect him to keep up a 70% average. No. But if he can match what he did in college at 61%, we've seen guys like I said before, DeAndre Jordan, 63%, Shaq, 65%. Even Kareem back in the day was well over 60% with his sky hook, unblockable, right? Mm-hmm. This is a guy, like I said, he's not them, but I think he's somewhere in between Shaq and DeAndre Jordan. And I'll take that player any day of the week.
I just don't feel like he's going to be able to keep up a shooting percentage of over 40%, maybe even 30%. Basically for the fact that he's going to be in for a rude awakening when he gets into the league coming in October throughout this winter, when he's got to go against top-tier talent, true top-tier talent that we see who've made it to the professional level, who have excelled. I don't think he's going to be able to put up those numbers against Boogie Cousins, Jonas Valanciunas. Sorry, I butcher his name every time. But he's not going to be able to keep that up. And he's not – I don't think – yes, he's skilled, but I don't think he's skilled enough to work around this defenses that all of these teams put together with these exceptional big men.
Well, and I think you're partly right. He did have a hard time if you passed him the ball and he had to drive to the hoop and make things happen by himself. But he really excelled, and this is where he made most of his shots, is posting up or getting a rebound where he didn't really have to one-on-one anybody for an extended period of time. So I think you're partly right. I think they'll expect him to do that more throughout the season, and I don't think he'll progress as fast as they want him to. But as long as he can sit down on that block and shoot from with the restricted area 5-7 foot out, I post up from there and let him get close to the hoop, and I think he can maintain at least a 60 all day. So I'll take the over on your 30, 40.
Absolutely. Well, that and he's averaging 3.5 offensive rebounds a game right now. I mean, I expect that to even increase.
Against guys in the summer league.
Right, but guys that are in the same, I don't want to say talent level because I think Ayton is more talented than them.
I'm not disagreeing with you guys on that. He's got amazing talent.
Right.
But we got to remember, this is the summer league. This is not the NBA yet.
Right, not yet, but he's still going up against NBA talent guys. Because, I mean, when he went up against the Lakers, there was Josh Hart. He's been in the NBA for a couple years now. There's Kyle Kuzma, who's a second-year guy. Lonzo Ball's a second-year guy. So, yes, they're not at his position, but these are guys who have been around the NBA and have played in the system, and he's just now getting exposure to that. And the fact that he's been able to put on these 2 dominating performances, well, really the first game wasn't dominant, but we could see the potential. The second game, he really let loose, and you saw why he was the number 1 pick. This is just, I don't know. I see what you're saying, and yes, it could hinder him being in the Western Conference. They've got countless stars in there. I mean, even a guy like Clint Capella, I could see him struggling against, and that's no disrespect to Capella. I still think Capella's probably a top 12 center in the league, I would say. Starting center, at least,
Yeah, for sure.
And even Steven Adams, top 15, around that area, I could see him competing with those guys. But, when you go up against the really good ones like Anthony Davis, that tier, Al Horford, that tier type player, I think he will struggle, like you said, but we expect him to struggle. He's a rookie, But I still think that he will live up to the hype of being the number 1 pick. The Suns are going to be very happy.
Well, yeah, and too, they just signed that extension with Booker. We'll get into that in a second. But
right.
The fact, too, in that game, though, that the Suns played the Kings, Marvin Bagley, the person that I wanted to see succeed the most, went down with a grip or growing hip flexor
injury.
I don't know. He pulled some muscle. But the fact that he went down, we didn't get to see his true potential against Ayton. Do you think, though, that he went down because he had to play DeAndre Ayton, who is actually everybody's hyping him up to be better than Marvin Bagley?
Well, in that game, I think Bagley was 5 for 13, and he was 0 for 7 from outside of 10 foot. So I think he struggled a lot of the way that Ayton did. He had a hard time one-on-one in people or driving to the basket. Really, he succeeded with offensive rebounds. I think he pulled down 2, and he had 8 rebounds total, something like that. So he didn't completely fail out, but he did struggle a lot, and we saw that. Now, I don't want to say he went down because he was struggling, but 5 of 13 in a game against a guy that you're supposed to be keeping up with, yeah, it's just not all that great.
And you got to remember, this is a first-rounder, DeAndre Ayton. This isn't DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Steven Adams.
Right.
These aren't guys that he's going to really struggle with this season.
Right, which is why I'm trying to talk up Ayton and saying that he is not like any other player in this draft. Personally, just from what I've seen, he is an NBA player who hasn't played in the NBA yet. Which, to answer your question, that's why I think Bagley struggled, is because he hasn't filled out yet. Bagley is a raw athlete, and he by far is the most athletic guy in this year's draft. But when it comes to shooting the ball, when it comes to footwork, he's raw. He's very unskilled, and he's going to have to work on that.
Thank you for finally admitting that he was the most athletic, even though I called that during.
Oh no, he is. He is. I got to give it to you, especially after seeing him in the summer league. But on top of that, a guy that stepped up when Bagley was struggling, I want to mention, is Harry Giles, however you want to say it. Another athletic guy. I think him and Bagley are going to be very, very nice on the same team this season. Sacramento is going to be looking at a great pick-and-roll game between those two, Willie Cauley-Stein and De'Aaron Fox. Not to mention Buddy Hield. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can shoot it from the outside.
See, that's the thing that compliments Buddy in the Sacramento Kings, is that he can shoot from the outside. They don't really have that piece, but Buddy adds that piece because they got Fox, who's just fast.
Yeah, he's a slasher.
Speed.
Yeah.
That's all he's got is speed. He can't shoot from the outside like Buddy can. But with Fox driving to the rim in that kick out to Buddy, who can hit a 3 or 2 every now and then, I mean, that's going to be a pretty deadly Sacramento Kings team this year. And they're young, and they've got a solid core.
Right, and being in the West, they'll go up against that tougher competition as well. And you have to be on the lookout for the lob to Giles or Bagley. I mean, they're both threats.
Cauley-Stein.
Don't get
Absolutely.
too ahead of yourself. We're still talking about the Kings.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they'll find a way to screw it up, I'm sure.
I'll give them 23 wins this year instead of 20.
Jeez.
I'm going to go over on that, on 23 wins. I'm going to give them almost 40. I'm going to say they win 40 games this year.
I don't think that they can be the 9 or 10 seed in the West. Not right now with how stacked it is, because you're going to have teams like the Clippers that are in 9th place. You're going to have teams like Denver who are in 8th place. I just don't see room for them yet.
No.
But I will give them. They'll probably win at least 30. I'll probably say that much because I expect them to improve. Really, I expect the whole West to improve. Really, I can't think of a Western Conference team that actually got worse.
How can the West improve anymore?
Well, because the Lakers are going to have a playoff spot.
Well, they're still going to destroy all the Eastern teams that they play.
Right.
Right, I understand that, but when they play each other, how can they improve anymore? It's going to be the Golden State show in the West. That's all it is. Golden State, Houston. That's it. That's the only thing.
I don't even know if Houston has a chance, and people are probably undermining this. The Trevor Ariza, the fact that he went to Phoenix and they didn't get him back, I'm telling you that is going to come back to bite them in the ass hard. It really is, because he was such a core piece. Yes, he missed like 17 3-pointers in Game 6 and 7. But up until that point...
So did James Harden.
Absolutely.
And he missed actually more than that. He missed like 31.
Right. Up until that point, Ariza had been their third guy when either Capella or Chris Paul or James Harden was off the floor. I mean, people look at that and it's like, yeah, he's a sharpshooter, he's a savvy veteran, but it's Trevor Ariza, But he was with that Rockets team for half a decade, and you got to replace him with somebody like Ryan Anderson or Joe Johnson. It's probably not your best option.
Which both of those guys actually had a good run in the NBA, but in the last couple of years they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Especially Anderson. You don't hear that guy's name at all anymore.
No, which last year he shot exceptionally well when the Rockets got to the playoffs, and then he just kind of went cold. And it's been the same thing this past regular season and in the playoffs. Like, D'Antoni didn't want to play him because he couldn't make his shots, and he was making $17 million being a bench warmer. So, I don't know. That's definitely an interesting take, but I can't see the Kings doing that well. But getting back on track real quick, and Bagley, no, I don't think that he faked his injury. I'm not. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to accuse a player of faking being hurt, But either way, no, he didn't perform as well as he did in his first game. But like you said, it could possibly be a psychological thing and him having to go up against DeAndre. But that's yet to be seen.
So let's move on. to Trae Young. Oh, my God, everybody. Just so you know, Trae Young, in 2 games so far, he's averaged 21.5 minutes a game, 10.5 points. He's 4 for 14 from the field. Does anybody get at math? Because that equals out to 29%.
Yeah.
He's 17% from the 3-point line.
Right, but as the field from the field
You're
for a whole,
right.
he's 29%. But 17%. People are calling him a young Steph Curry. That isn't Steph Curry numbers.
No.
But let's keep moving here. Rebounds per game, 1.5. That's not bad given his size because he's smaller than you almost.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect him to grab but a couple anyway.
So let's move on to this statistic right here. Assists per game, averaging 7. That's amazing.
He needs to do more of that.
He needs to do more passing and less shooting. The shooting will come in the NBA, but the passing is something that cannot be taught.
Right.
So what do you guys got?
Well, he's a natural passer. He led the NCAA last year in points and assists per game.
Playing at Oklahoma.
Playing at Oklahoma, where he didn't really have a whole lot of talent around him.
No
at all.
talent.
Or in the conference, for that matter.
Yep. So to have that vision, to be able to get guys open, to be able to get them a good look, a good shot, and help them, even guys that don't really shoot well, to make it so they can make shots, that is going to be his thing in the NBA. I'm not saying he's going to be an awful shooter. 17%, there's really nowhere to go but up from that.
Yeah, you can't go down much.
So passing's definitely, he's going to be a good passer in the NBA. I can very easily see him turning into Rajon Rondo, Jason Kidd type player.
And there's nothing wrong with that. No, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Not. Jason Kidd's a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
And Rondo will be a Hall of Famer.
I expect
when he
him.
retires.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both phenomenally great players, and I think Trae Young's got all that potential with a little bit better scoring potential than those two had. So if he continues to develop his passing and work in that field, the scoring will come later, as Cale said, and it'll all kind of work out for him. Now, I'm not going to say – I actually had Trae Young. I had Trae Young going to the Bulls in my mock draft. And I'm not going to say I'm not glad that we didn't pick him, but I am really glad that we got Wendell Carter Jr. based on performances thus
Over
far.
these 2 games, yeah, absolutely.
Just these 2 games alone. I mean, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, well, it's only been 2 games. Well, it's only the summer league. Well, we saw Lonzo ball out in the summer league, and then we saw him go to the NBA and play absolutely horrible. So maybe this is a fluke. Maybe Trae Young could go to the NBA and possibly, for whatever reason, prove me and pretty much everyone else wrong.
The 3 of us in this room, definitely.
Absolutely, that he can play. But the game that he started off 0 of 10 from 3 and finished 1 of 11, that pretty much did it in for me, and I'm pretty sure it was the first game that they played. That pretty much answered every question that I had going into it, saying that this guy, size isn't everything, but he's too small. He's a set shooter. He can't shoot off the dribble. And being a point guard, that's terrible when you have to start at the top of the key and someone's guarding you once you cross half court. Okay. On top of that, he's a gifted passer, but doesn't honor his ability to be able to do that. He would rather shoot the ball. But then you're going to say, well, Gav, he averages 7 assists. Okay, that's great. He could average 12 if he wanted to. The fact is that he thinks that he's this great shooter, which he can be. But J.R. Smith can be a great shooter, right? We've seen him go 9 of 9 from 3-point before, okay?
We've also seen him go 0 of 9.
Absolutely. And this is, if you would tell me that this is more of J.R. Smith with a gifted passing ability, I would believe you, because this is nowhere close to Stephen Curry.
No, it wouldn't. He never will be close if he keeps this up. If he keeps going the way he is, he won't be close.
Right, and it's no disrespect. Like we said, he could become a great point guard, a genuine point guard if he wanted to. This is a wannabe shooting guard playing the one position. But if he wants to change that, he's got all the time in the world to do it.
Now, I don't think all the Steph Curry comparisons are completely fair to this kid. I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, exactly. That's big shoes to fill. That's a hard name to live up to. Steph Curry is possibly the greatest player of the latest generation. Dude's absolutely balled out for the last 5 years now.
Well, I think we have to look at LeBron and Kevin Durant first, but
they're older. Steph Curry hasn't been in the league as long as those two. I know he's not as great as LeBron and KD, but of the newer generation, almost everybody knows Steph Curry's name.
Right.
Very big shoes to fill. So I don't think the comparisons are all that fair to him. But I see where people are coming from. Even Trae Young said it. He wants to be the next Steph Curry. But I still don't think the comparison is completely accurate.
All right, guys. Let's move on to some Big Ten draftees, let's just say. Jaren Jackson Jr., coming out of Michigan State for the Summer League. He's doing pretty well in Memphis. What do you guys think?
Very well
for Memphis.
Well, I know he came out in that first game. He well over 20 points. I think it was close to 30, right?
30, yeah, it was almost 30.
Almost 30 points that he had. He had that crazy almost half-court buzzer beater at halftime. The defense was phenomenal. I know he's putting up well over 3 blocks a game. It's pretty remarkable to see, especially guys from the Big Ten, able to come into the NBA and play the way that they do, because being around Illinois and we see what kind of competition we have to go up against night in and night out during the basketball season, which it's been very long for the past few years, but it's nothing short of incredible. We almost come to expect it out of the Big Ten, right? When you got teams like Michigan State, Ohio State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Nebraska, I mean, just all this competition, and this kid from Michigan State, Jaren Jackson Jr., I tell you what, I kind of slept on him a little bit because I didn't think that he could be that great of a 3-point shooter in the NBA based off, what he did in Michigan State. I gave more credit to Tom Izzo's system than I did to the actual player, and that was my mistake, because this kid, he's going to be great. And the fact that he was able to drop out of the top 3, I think was phenomenal. Like, if Atlanta ended up with Jaren Jackson Jr., I think that they'd be a lot better off. Now, obviously, it's too early to tell right now, but he's definitely looking like the real deal, and he's passionate. He loves the game. I love the way that he plays it. He puts defense first above everything, and being in that grit and grind system in Memphis right now, that's only going to help him and the team. So I'm really looking forward to his NBA career.
So one last player I want to talk about from the Big Ten, who happens to come from the University of Illinois, was released in 2016 due to some off-court issues, but he went up to Oakland University in Michigan. For those of you who don't know, that's Kendrick Nunn. Coming from Golden State for this summer, he is averaging 12.5 points a game, 1.5 assists, and 6 rebounds. What does that say for Kendrick Nunn? Do you think he can earn a spot on this Golden State roster?
Maybe not Golden State. He's playing phenomenal right now. He's playing really well. Came out and he's giving us everything he's got, and it's showing. He's definitely improved. It looks like he's got rid of some of those off-court issues. He's a little more focused, energetic. Yeah, he grew up. He matured a little bit. That being said, I still don't know if he'll make this Golden State team. It's a pretty loaded roster right now. They got a lot of guys, a lot of talent. A lot of them been there for several years now. Hard to wedge them out of a spot.
Plus, he's not really what they're looking for at this point.
Now, that being said, he is playing well. I think he will make an NBA roster somewhere coming off the bench. But Golden State, I don't think it'll be them.
Absolutely. Just Golden State has his draft rights as of right now.
Right.
Or not his draft rights, but the rights to sign him to a contract first. If they waive him, every other team, all 29 teams, can have a shot at him, right? And I guarantee you he ends up on somebody's roster, because this is a guy who, we saw him at Illinois. I mean, he can get hot. He's a scorer. He can even shoot it from the outside from time to time. But like you said, 12 points a game, 6 rebounds. I think that's helpful on just about any roster in the Eastern Conference at this point.
It may not be a starting position, but a bench player.
Oh, absolutely not.
Role.
No, I mean, we saw Brandon Paul in the Summer League last year ball out, and he was getting 16 points a game, I think, but he only plays like 6 minutes a game for the Spurs. But he's a part of a championship caliber franchise in that rotation. I think Nunn is a guy, if he gets picked up by an Eastern Conference team, he could definitely see some more minutes, though, maybe in the 15-minute range.
He'll have a better opportunity to get signed in the East than he would the West.
Absolutely, and I'd love to see it. I love Illinois boys being able to get that opportunity in the NBA and show what Big Ten basketball is all about.
So let's move on to some free agency here. The Bulls matched the offer sheet by the Kings for Zach LaVine.
Almost $80 million.
It's nuts. What do you got?
Well, I can tell you that I don't think that he's worth $80 million, and 24 games is definitely not enough to change my mind about it. Now, if I'm getting Minnesota Timberwolves Zach LaVine, I may consider giving him $20 million a year just based on the salary cap increase and fluctuation and all that stuff, economic numbers that I'm not even going to get into. But is this a guy that could be worth $20 million in the next two to three seasons? I think so. I think that he needs to improve his three-point game. If he continues to work on the pick-and-roll ability that he's been so accustomed to doing, especially with Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota. When he came here with Robin Lopez, it looked really, really nice. And on paper, him and Chris Dunn in the backcourt, I think that's a really nice duo. Bringing in Wendell Carter Jr. should definitely increase his pick and rolls and drives to the basket. If not, maybe just screen and three. Really, whatever he wants to do. Man, it's the injuries that really concern me. That's where I get hung up on. Do I really want to pay a guy even partially guaranteed $20 million if he's if he injures that knee again, if he has another issue, ankle, any other leg injury? We know leg injury to a basketball player is detrimental, which is what first of all I would hate to see that happen to him because he's a great player. I love watching him. But on top of that, seeing Chicago having to pay him all that money when they could have spent it elsewhere or saved it for even next offseason.
Well, and I think you nailed it on the head. Last episode we talked if the money was right.
Yeah.
I would love to see him stay. I don't think that was the right money, almost $20 million a year.
Well, and I don't want to say that, real quick, I don't want to say that it was extremely overpaid. I still think this is a guy that, maybe in the $14, $15 million range. But 20 is a little too much.
I mean, Paul George was making, Paul George
was
opted
making
out of his contract. That was $20 million.
Yeah.
And that was when he was in the peak of his performance in Indiana. So to pay him that kind of money, I mean, Chris Paul was on like a $20 million contract for most of his career. And Chris Paul is proven to be a great player. So I'm not saying he won't be worth that money, but as of right now, with a 24-game sample size, we've got him in a Red Bulls jersey. I just don't think it was the right money right now. Now, he is a guy, high motor, great potential, great skill set. He's got that potential to be a phenomenal player, but right now, I just haven't seen it.
He's still young, so he has a chance.
I have yet to see a $20 million a year season out of him. And like you said, with that knee injury, look at Derrick Rose. The Bulls have had terrible problems with people's knees.
Derrick Rose, I think, was an anomaly as well because he was an MVP, and then the very next year, it was never the same.
Yeah, plummeted, and it's sad because Derrick Rose is probably my favorite player in the league. But anyway, with somebody that's got a shredded knee and you're offering 4 years, $80 million, that's just way too much for me. Just a player that hasn't proved himself.
Right. But like you said, we've seen the flashes of his potential and what he's able to do. He's a high flyer. He's a 2-time slam dunk champion for a reason. He's a flashy guy. Chicago hasn't had that since Derrick Rose. So we might have found our replacement, so to speak, in Zach LaVine. But like I said, time will tell if he's earned his money. And hopefully in the next 2, 3, even 4 years, he'll have proven himself.
Speaking of money, Carmelo Anthony opted out of his contract, or he says he's going to opt out by the end of the summer in OKC. This is the best thing that possibly could have happened for OKC because now they're going to have a little bit of space to play with that contract being, opted out of. And
not just that. I mean, he saved him cap room, but more importantly, he saved him over $100 million in luxury tax.
The luxury tax itself, yeah.
Which the Thunder would have had the most expensive roster in history had Melo stayed in his contract and waited until October when the season started. That would have been absolutely insane. Like going back to last week when I said this is a team that traded James Harden to the Houston Rockets over $4 million. And that's not $4 million every year. A total of $4 million that they cut a future MVP. By the way, congratulations to him again on getting his MVP. Well deserved. But no, Melo, this is great for them because he's still going to get his money either way, just not all in a lump sum, right? Mm-hmm. And this is also great for the Thunder because they're going to save cap space. Like you said, with that cap space, they have their mid-level exception, and they could also sign somebody else to help out PG and Russell Westbrook. Whoever that is, who's left out there, I couldn't tell you. Really no one of note.
Everybody that's left is gone.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Cousins is gone. LeBron's gone. Devin Booker just
his extension is signed. Yeah,
everybody's gone. There's no top tier talent.
Right, and they still have Jerry Grant, Raymond Felton, Patrick Patterson, Abrinas, Adams. They have an okay core of guys, but they're missing that third co-star.
Yep.
And they don't even have to be all NBA level talent because you already have Westbrook and Paul George. They've made all NBA teams before, but if you can have an all-star caliber player as your third option. Maybe OKC can work out a trade to get Kevin Love from Cleveland. That would be an interesting fit. I know that they would somehow, to make that money work, they'd have to wait 50-something days to maybe include Jerry and Grant in that deal, Patrick Patterson in that deal. I don't know what they would do. Obviously, it would have to include a first-round pick, but this is great for both the player and the organization because Sam Presti's done a great job in getting Melo off the books, at least for now, although he will end up making his money, and Melo's going to get his money. So this is a win-win.
Well, and when we talked about this last time when he opted into the contract, I had said that great for Melo, awful for OKC.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's even better for Melo and great for OKC because Melo's still going to get his money for that contract, whether it's over the next 3 years, the next 4 years, whatever it's going to be. And some team's going to pick him up. It's not going to be for $27 million.
No.
But he's still going to end up getting 2 contracts worth of paychecks over the next several years that he's signed for. So even better for Melo, even better for OKC because they're saving themselves a lot of money. They're opening up a spot. It gives them a whole new world of potential that they can work with now. So this situation works out even better. Better than I had ever seen it working out. I figured Melo would stay and soak up everything he could while he had the chance, and he actually did the right thing for everybody and got out of there. And hopefully it works out well for everybody.
Yeah, the Thunder's lucky that they have Sam Presti as their general manager because if he wasn't there, they would be in a world of hurt right about now.
Yeah.
So,
and they were starting to feel them effects, and I think that's probably why they wanted Melo out of there.
absolutely.
But Devin Booker obviously reached a $158 million max deal with the Phoenix Suns. Go figure. They're just going to continue to, as you guys say, dominate out there in the West, per se.
They could. They very well could.
I don't see it, but, that's just me.
They just wrapped up Devin Booker to a 5-year extension, so now he's with the team for another 6 years, right? They've got DeAndre Ayton on his rookie deal, which is 4 years. 6 in total if they get they pick up the 2-year option at the end of his deal, right? So they got those 2 guys wrapped up for the next 6 years. Okay, it's 2018. They're not going to be free agents until 2024.
24.
Yeah.
So, do you really expect the Golden State Warriors to still be good in 2022, 2023?
No, that's not feasible for the fact that they're going to run out of money.
Absolutely,
I mean,
and not only
that's
that,
the thing.
even if they took pay cuts, this is a team.
That's not
that in 5 years, Kevin Durant is going to be, 36, 37. He's not going to be Kevin Durant anymore. Steph Curry's going to be 35, 36. He's not going to be Steph Curry anymore, So that team's going to be out of the running. Then you have Chris Paul, who's probably going to retire in the next 3 to 4 years. So Houston's going to have James Harden, and if they want to pick up Melo, he won't be around anyway. So they're going to be gone. Yes, LeBron's still going to be in Los Angeles, I would imagine, or wherever his son plays, okay? Because in 4 years, wherever his kid is at, that's why he's got the option to get out on the 4th year is so he can play with his son.
4 years, LeBron will be 37 too. We got to keep that
right. But he'll be wherever his son is at, is what I'm trying to say. So the Lakers won't even be a problem unless the Lakers want to draft Bronny Jr., which I don't know if that'll happen. It's going to be interesting because in the next 3 to 4 years, I understand that me and Tyson are on the Suns bandwagon right now, but it's going to happen. They will be a competitive team in the Western Conference. I know that's hard to wrap your head around right now, but Devin Booker is listen, I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but Devin Booker is a Kobe-esque player.
No.
A Kobe-esque player, okay?
No.
Nobody's the Mamba, but
70,
I see where you're coming
70 points in a single game, okay? 70 points in a game. You can't tell me that this is not a guy who knows how to put the ball in the bucket, all right? He did it against the Boston Celtics, and they lost the game. Where was his help? Now he has help. He has help now. They have Trevor Ariza. He's a great three-point shooter. He can be in the backcourt with them, okay? They have DeAndre Ayton is going to be the next, not the next Shaq, but similar to Shaq, okay, with a jump shot, okay? Then they have Mikal Bridges, great defender, great all-around player. He can shoot the basketball. He's from Villanova. Villanova is championship-caliber players. That's what they've been producing the past 2 to 3 seasons, okay? The Suns are going to be a great team, and I would not be surprised if in 5 years they are holding the trophy.
5 years?
In 5 years, they will hold the Larry O'Brien trophy. I'll guarantee it.
Man, that's wild. For the fact that no, because in 5 years you got to think. As we just stated, Golden State's going to run out of money eventually.
Right.
It's not going to be within 5 years. They're still going to have Clay. They're still going to have Steph. And then you look over to OKC.
Yeah, but in 5 years, those dudes are getting old.
You're going to look over to OKC. They're still going to have phenomenal players. Minnesota's even Westbrook.
Westbrook's athleticism's not going to last for another 6 years. It's not going to happen.
I can see it lasting for another 6 years because personally, I feel like Russell Westbrook is just an amazing athlete that will stick with him longer than what people think are going to.
Listen, Father Time's undefeated. That's all I'm going to say.
You can't beat age. That's the only thing you can't beat is age. But
and Russell Westbrook being 29 years old, if he turns 35,
he's only 29.
But that's the thing is when Jordan won his titles, he wasn't even the leading scorer on his team at 35 years old. So that's what I'm trying to say is age. I mean, even listen, LeBron is an anomaly, okay? He's going to be 35 this season. He's still going to put up 24, 25 points a game. All right? Him and Jordan and Kobe, they are the exception to the rule. All right? This notion that players can play when they're 35, 36 years old, the average age in which an NBA player retires is 29. All right? We shouldn't expect players to play into their 30s. That's just, if it happens, it happens. I mean, that's why we have these guys that come into the league at 19, 18 years old, and they play for 10 years. They're not even 30 yet. That's why they're done. They've made their money. They've done whatever they can do in the league. They've made their mark, right? So what I'm trying to say is that at that point in time, if all 5 of those players, well, actually, I don't expect Boogie to re-sign with Golden State if he can prove himself and he can still play, even like 70% of what he was at. But if they still have Clay, Draymond, Steph, KD, and they're 35, 36, 34, I can't see them, even if they stayed together, I don't see how they would win.
Then again, look at the Spurs.
Tony Parker, Ginobili.
Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan.
And
dudes were together for 20 years and still made it work.
And when they won their last championship in 2014, guess who got Finals MVP? A guy named Kawhi Leonard, who next year went on to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, so yes, Kawhi did get Finals MVP that year, but what I'm saying is that Devin Booker is not going to be able to single-handedly, because he's the only superstar on that team. I'm not knocking all these young guys they got.
Oh, no, and I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying he is Kobe.
Right, I understand that, but when you say that he's Kobe-esque, I don't even see it. I still can't see it.
I can see it.
I still can't see it.
The difference is the Mamba don't need no help. Devin Booker needs a little bit of help.
Well, see, here's the thing
Hang on. Okay. If he is Kobe-esque, why does he need help? That is the question.
Because Kobe won his first 3 titles with Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay. So
even when he won it,
he has
Shaq and DeAndre Ayton. That is going to be the next Shaquille O'Neal.
Alrighty.
Listen.
What?
Esque.
All my hot takes coming from Gav today.
Okay, listen. Esque, all right? Listen, okay, you know, compare me to Skip Bayless if you want to, all right? This is the Suns in 5 years. If they win the title, I want both of you to come back here and I want you to apologize to me.
If that happens,
that's what I want.
If that happens, I'll personally give you a $100 bill. If that happens, I will personally give you $100 bills 5 years from right now. If the Phoenix Suns win the NBA Finals, I will personally give you $100.
I just don't understand why
it's it to your wallet. No
matter what state you're in or what I'm in, I will be there to give it to you.
What I just don't understand is why is it so hard to wrap your head around that in 5 years the NBA is going to be an entirely different landscape. And the fact that you can't see...
There's a chance LeBron won't even be in the league in 5 years.
There's a very good possibility. He might not want to play anymore.
Okay? I just don't see it.
It's just, you have Devin Booker, proven scorer. You're going to have DeAndre Ayton. And I tell you what, if after his second season he's not averaging 18 and 10, you can come back here and call me an idiot.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right.
Because I guarantee you in his second year, he will average at least 18 points and 10 rebounds. That's how good he can be. And in Phoenix, why would he not be able to flourish? They already backed him. They were backing him before they even drafted him. Mm-hmm. He had Phoenix Suns. He was signing autographs for Phoenix Suns fans before they made the announcement. I mean, they are into this guy. I'm you know what? Call me crazy. Watch Phoenix Suns, 2023 NBA Finals champs.
Right.
Calling it right here.
Let's move on a little bit. So we're talking about LeBron. All right, we're talking about LeBron and Kawhi, the two superstars. Obviously. LeBron signed with the Lakers. Kawhi still hasn't signed yet. But the whole situation with the Spurs, these two kind of tie into each other. First of all, why doesn't anybody want to play with LeBron? LeBron's supposedly, and is, you can see by his stats, that he's the best player in the league. So why does nobody want to go play with the best player in the league, like DeMarcus Cousins deciding to go to the Golden State Warriors? But with this Kawhi situation with the Spurs, which there's a whole lot of issues intertwined.
A lot of hoopla.
Who's calling out who, whatever. We haven't heard Kawhi's side of the story yet. But why doesn't anybody want to go to LA to play with LeBron?
Now I've kind of got two thoughts on this. You go and play with LeBron in LA, and you're playing with the best player in the league. If you win, it's because the best player in the league made you win. You had nothing to do with it. I think a lot of guys are scared of that. They don't want to be LeBron and the Lakers because he will take over that team. I also think that LeBron is a cocky douchebag.
Egotistical. Egotistical to the max.
He made his own Instagram post about himself, congratulating himself. And he referred to himself in the third person.
When you start referring to yourself in the third person, you have a problem.
Yeah, so those are kind of my two takes. No one wants it to be LeBron and the Lakers, and I just don't think a lot of people can handle LeBron. I'm sure he's a great dude, but he made an Instagram post about himself.
He occasionally will make the Twitter post about himself as well. The tweet,
yeah, and he compares himself to Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Fact, not debatable. You can't compare yourself. If other people want to have that debate, great, but you can't have that debate for them. Well, you can prove that debate, but you can't have it.
Well, see, and there's another thing is Michael Jordan didn't tell you that he was the GOAT until he retired.
Yep.
When he retired, he told you who the greatest of all time was, okay? When you hang up the sneakers, that's when it's over.
The difference is he didn't have to tell us because everybody in the world told it to him for the entire duration of his career, so he just accepted it by the time he retired.
They gave Karl Malone the MVP over him, and then he went and beat Karl Malone twice, back-to-back in the NBA Finals, and said that was my award, okay? I don't need the regular season MVP because I'm going to go get another Finals MVP, okay? But that's besides the point. Listen, I'm agree with you. I believe that players don't want to play with LeBron is because no one wants to be, Robin to the greatest player in the league, okay? Because not only do you not get credit for when they win, it's all LeBron, but when LeBron loses, it's your fault.
Yep.
You get blamed for everything. We've seen Kevin Love be the scapegoat in Cleveland the last 4 years. When Kyrie left, it was all about Kevin Love. Well, Kevin Love needs to step up. This is a guy that averaged 19 points and 11 rebounds, but it's his fault that he's holding LeBron back. How about the other scrubs that they traded for or are on their bench? Young players, immature, non-experienced, haven't been to the playoffs, that he had to deal with the entire year and still drug that team to the finals. I mean, like I said, the reason that they probably don't want to play with him is his ego. He's got the big ego, but also because they don't want to hold the blame when it's not their fault. If they're playing well, I know if I was playing well, I wouldn't want to take the backlash for what LeBron is doing. If LeBron has a bad game, whose fault is it? Well, God forbid you blame him.
Well, we've seen that for years. When he's winning, LeBron is the greatest player in the world. When he's losing, he doesn't have enough help.
Yeah, that's always been the excuse. No, not at all. But, that's probably why he went out and got all these guys who I'm not going to say aren't good players because they are good players. They're in the NBA.
They're established players.
Right, but they're not all-stars.
No,
they're
just established players.
Absolutely. McGee is a guy who resurrected his career. Lance is a guy who's always been he's been a clown, but we know he has talent,
Right.
He won
He's been consistent.
He won a state championship in high school and he's had talent since then. He's just hasn't been as focused on basketball as he should be. He's always had the talent to be great. Now, maybe playing with LeBron, he can tap into that and maybe get a little bit more of Lance the basketball player instead of Lance the stage clown, And that's no disrespect to him. I love Lance Stevenson. I'll be the first one to tell you that I love Lance Stevenson. I'm really sad to see the Pacers let him go. But, no, the players that he's surrounded, really the only one I like is Rondo.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have Rondo, they need to get rid of Lonzo Ball. Because you have two players, the same position, same play style, one's better than the other. Okay, I don't see the potential of Lonzo Ball becoming Rajon Rondo, and even if he does, his dad is not worth the problems, and that's another argument for another day. But, oh man, just that team is going to be so interesting because I really like Kyle Kuzma, I really like Josh Hart, but then letting Julius Randle go, that really hurt. That really hurt, and I don't know how they're going to be able to bounce back from that.
My other thing on that is why play with the greatest player in the world when you can play against the greatest player in the world?
And lose.
Well, if you in Boogie's case, if you go to the Warriors, you're automatically going to win and beat LeBron and the Lakers.
Okay.
So not your wins mean even more now because not only did you win, but you beat the greatest player in the world. So why would they want to play with him when they can beat him instead?
I think when Golden State wins the title, and yes, I said when Golden State wins the title next year.
Golden State in 4.
Absolutely. Whoever they play, it's not going to matter. The finals is going to be the Western Conference Finals, and even then, I wouldn't imagine it goes anywhere close to 6 games, maybe 5. Really,
maybe.
And that's painful for me being a fan to admit that, but that's just the way it is now.
We're all fans of the East, and that's just you got to wake up and smell.
Like the real NBA Finals for me is the Eastern Conference Finals because after that, my season's over.
Yeah.
So, but no, when DeMarcus Cousins signed there, you have to think to yourself, does this ring really mean anything to me right now? Because we all thought it needed an asterisk when Kevin Durant went there.
Right.
What does it need now?
2 asterisks.
Yeah, because this is absurd, and I really don't know what else to say about it other than DeMarcus Cousins. We thought Kevin Durant ruined the NBA. DeMarcus Cousins single-handedly ruined not only this season.
He took the NBA as a league and flipped it on its head.
Yeah, he broke it.
Yeah.
It's over. And I don't know. Even if like I said, even if DeMarcus comes back and he's only like 50% of the player that he was, I mean, it's still over. It's still over.
So let's talk about DeMarcus Cousins since we're on him.
Yeah.
He said the other day that I can't remember. I think it was on Twitter that he stated he's going to come back when he's 100% healthy. That could be opening day. That could be January. It could be later than January.
Let's hope it's April.
Yeah. So DeMarcus Cousins, he just signed that vet min salary. Do you think he's going to come back? Period.
Yeah, he'll come back. Just
Okay.
win. You know.
For sure.
An Achilles injury is serious. It sat Kobe out a whole season and a little
Tony
bit
Parker
after
a
that.
whole
Tony
season.
Parker.
Elton Brand, countless guys.
Now he tore his in January. It was around the 22nd, somewhere in there, 25th. Give him a full year to January. I think he'll continue to sit because he knows he signed that veteran minimum deal, and I think he'll get paid for what he's going to play. So I think he'll sit out another couple months, maybe March. He'll come back. He'll want to warm up for the playoffs so he can make a mark in the playoffs and get paid after this season. But I don't think he'll take like exactly a year. I don't think he'll come back in January, but not too long after, a couple months maybe.
Which, funny enough, he still hasn't officially been to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because the Pelicans made it, but he didn't play a single minute because he had that Achilles injury. And he never made it with Sacramento. Never even came close. I think the most games they won was like 36 or 37.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have told me 2 years ago, even 3 years ago, that DeMarcus Cousins would make his playoff debut in a Golden State Warriors uniform, I would have told you to get the hell out.
I thought you were high on pot news.
Yeah, I'm not.
Stay off the weed.
It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. But, I agree. I think he'll come back in March. That sounds about right. Probably a month before the playoffs start, just to get his legs underneath him, test out the Achilles, and make sure everything's in order.
Yep.
But other than that, no. Yeah, I think he'll come back. I think he'll be fine. Warriors aren't going to rush anything. Their team is still great. Still the best team in the league without him. And when he comes back, watch out.
For sure.
Well, that pretty much wraps up the NBA. Let's go ahead and get us some MLB, guys, because we probably spent a little too much time on that. We got a couple hot takes there, and we're going to go ahead and move on.